Okay, so I'm in Sudowrite. I'm author Elizabeth Ann West, for those who don't know me. I'm an author of over 25 books in the Amazon store and all of the major ebooks stores out there. I've been publishing independently since 2011. So as far as digital publishing goes for the indie world, I've been there almost from the beginning, not quite, but pretty close. So I had to adopt dictation actually in 2014 because I have posture related injuries. Anybody have posture related injuries, issues? Sometimes typing is painful. Yep. That's a big show of hands, right? So when artificial intelligence came out, Sudowrite, when I learned about Sudowrite in November of 2021, I was like, oh, this is a game changer. Because my previous process was I would dictate and I would get about 1,000 to 1,500 words in about 20 minutes, but it would be a mess. I mean, Dragon would have to change them and then I would have to edit them. And so that's an editing pass. So with the AI, I actually am faster, which may not be true for everybody, but in my situation, I'm faster because I'm generating clean copy. So because with the AI, it's a lot cleaner copy and it'll also like tell you if something's not right. So this is the interface of Sudowrite. Yours may not have quite so many cards. I call these projects, but they are an individual card, and this is how we organize. And you'll notice that some of mine are called different things. I have Imaginaria, I have the blog post about Sudowrite, and we'll take a look at those. If you want a new project, we're going to click the new button. And so once I click the new button, I'm immediately taken into this interface that's very familiar to a lot of us. Like we have formatting options up here. You have a bunch of different cards that you can work on. And then also the generate first draft option here that we're going to use later tonight. Now there's a lot of features on this screen. We're going to really heavily focus on 4 main ones, because again, my goal here is for you to leave like super ready to do something with Sudowrite rather than necessarily knowing every little thing about Sudowrite, but you don't know how to use something. But I can always answer a question about anything that you have. I'm going to go back to my home screen, which will show me all my projects. I'm just going to click on this home icon up here. So the nonfiction work, real fast, I'll talk about that. So we're going to talk about the write function. So this is actually in your workbook, this entire thing here. I am actually going to grab the prompt that I used earlier. I can tell that this is my prompt because I purposely italicized what Sudowrite wrote, but I'm actually changing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to an add new to get a new file. And we're going to do that same prompt again. And what I want to talk about the AI is how many of you have ever wondered, like, where did the words come from? Anyone? Yeah, and sometimes people are like, it's copying and pasting. We call it a prompt because we're literally prompting the AI some context and then we're letting it go. It is a predictive text generator. It is not a query in the sense like it's pulling from a database of words. So no query, it's a prompt. And that also means every time you prompt, you can get an entirely different result each time you do it. So there's no right specific answer that the AI is necessarily going to do for you when you prompt it. So I'm going to go ahead and read my prompt out loud. Can everybody see the screen okay? Are you able to read the words on here pretty well with your screens and everything?
Sure. Yep.
Perfect. So blog post about Sudowrite. Great thing about when you're writing nonfiction, putting a little title in there, it kind of signals to the AI that, hey, I'm trying to write nonfiction here. Working with AI to write stories is a controversial subject in many writing groups. It's forcing authors of all levels to ask themselves a fundamental question. At what point is someone no longer an author? Software like Sudowrite is expanding the definition of writing thanks to advances in AI. And then I don't know what comes next. So what I'm going to do is what's called the write feature. And a little bit of history, this was originally called the wormhole. It was really fun. You just would get stuff. And that's pretty much what write does right now. So what it's going to do is it's going to read up in my document up to 1,000 words. That's the most that it can process at one time. So I'm just going to click this button right here with the write. It says, put your cursor at the end of some text and click write. You do have to have at least 20 words in your document before this button will even show up. Otherwise, it'll be grayed out. So that'll signal for you that you need to put more words into your document. So I'm going to click write. And now we're going. We are officially collaborating with AI. Ooh. So it's still going. And I just want to make sure. Oh, okay. I cheated. Hold on a minute. It showed a feature that I wasn't quite ready to show you guys. So hold on one second here. the key details, because I wanted to show how that works. So I'm going to take my key details out. Don't worry, we'll come back to that. But I'm going to put it in another document so I remember. If I want to name a document, I just double click it so that I can keep everything going. So I'm going to call this key details. This was our working example. And this one was the finished one.
Wow, way to recover. Nice.
Recover, what do you mean?
So it's great it worked out that way. Very good.
Yes, so this is already here. The working example is there. I didn't even lose those cards that I generated. And this is my first intro class here with just the Sudowrite. And I'm showing some different features than I usually show. So it's like, actually, to be honest with you, key details didn't exist when I first started teaching about Sudowrite. It's a fairly new, it's a somewhat newer feature that's out there, but it's fantastic. You're going to see in just a second. So the cards it generated, I didn't lose them. They're right over here. And the way you control how many cards you get is actually in that write settings. So you'll see how this is grayed out. It's grayed out because my cursor is not in the box. So you have to have your cursor in the box before write will even talk to you. Once you do, you can do the drop down here. And we're going to talk about a couple of these features, but your write settings right here. That's where I'm going to control my creativity. I'm also going to control how many cards I get and how many words I get. So Sudowrite, your account is based on how many words you have. And by the way, stay till the end because there is a special gift for everybody who came tonight. You're going to be given some extra words to be able to test out a lot of these features that you're seeing tonight. There's a password, so you have to stay till the end. So the length of the cards is 250 words. Now, if I drop this down, I can go as little as 50, 100, 150. So I can really tailor what I'm getting based on like what I'm trying to get out of the AI. Sometimes you might only want 50 words. Sometimes you want 250. I like 250 because I like to look at a lot of stuff and then choose and choose what I want. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I have this prompt in here. And now, second attempt, we're going to click write. And here we go. And I took out those key details, which gives extra context. So it's going, and it's really kind of this fast. It's really great because this is when you take a sip of tea. And it's done. So it didn't have any more context. And the way you can tell how much context it has is you can click show more, and it will show you exactly how much write took into consideration. So if you're working with a longer piece of work, click that little button, it'll show you where it stopped. So sometimes you may have to be creative with your files here on the left-hand side, work in smaller chunks or work in smaller sections if you want your write to be able to read up all 1,000 words. Any questions so far?
Elizabeth,
Yes.
will there be a progress indicator at some point so we can know that something's happening rather than just sitting there?
That is a good idea. So if you join our Slack community, there's a feedback and idea section.
I'll do that.
Also, we also have a website that'll say like you can add that as a feature request.
Great.
Yep, that would be great. That's a good idea. I just know because I know like if it stops mid-sentence, it's going because I use this all the time. So I just know when it's thinking and I know when it's not. And I'm not Santa Claus either, like to know when you've been bad or good or whatever. So here's some generic stuff that Sudowrite has come up with. It didn't really know exactly what I was aiming for here, but it said this software utilizes AI's ability to predict words, phrases, and sentences to create content. It also features functionality which allows writers to carefully craft the story they want by selecting occurrences of certain themes or narratives. Okay, so that was great. And then as you can see, Siri has taken a page out of the Dragon Age video game series playbook. So it did not know what blog post I was trying to write, but it did its best. It just came up with some stuff. And that's because it doesn't, this amount of work, if somebody was given this to a human and said, write a blog post, they would have a hard time exactly knowing what to flesh out unless they researched first, right? Yeah, and the AI doesn't have the ability to really do that. It only knows how to like predictively write words. So I really wouldn't use much of this card here, but that's not the AI's fault. That's my fault as the creative director. I didn't put more details in there. This one actually went way off the rails here a little bit because it's got some first person in there. And then something about colonial times. So we're definitely not using that one. So you agree that these are not helpful cards if I'm writing a blog post on Sudowrite, right? I have let down my junior writing partner. I have given them an assignment that is beyond their pay grade. So how am I going to fix this? I'm going to go to my key details. And here I have Sudowrite launched out of closed beta in 2021. As of 2023, founder Amit Gupta, who's here tonight, he's awesome, cites increased growth on the platform despite the release of ChatGPT in November of 2022. And I put a source there from Twitter. Sudowrite works best to write fiction, but it can be used to write nonfiction. And today's authors are using software like Sudowrite to be an electronic co-writer, a partner in idea generation and wordsmithing. So we have these details. So I'm going to just copy these. And I'm going to come back to my working example. Dasha. And then I do my drop down and I go to write settings. My dog is having a dream. Are you hearing her or no?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, then I'll ignore. I'm going to do my drop down and hit the write settings right here. Now, key details. We have a lot of helpful text all around the software to kind of let you know what you should use different functions for. So key details, it's already populated with what important details about your story should Sudowrite keep in mind. Example, Lieutenant Stryker is harboring a dark secret. Also, it lets you know that key details only works in auto mode. Auto mode, just so you know, is that first one. So when you want to work with the write function, you choose whether you want auto, guided, or tone shift. We're going to be working with auto. And so since I have auto selected, I can click on write settings and I can go ahead and paste those key details in. I believe key details at the moment can do about 400 characters for its limitation.
Real quick, the key
Yes.
details are specific to each card or in general?
They're specific to the project.
To the project, okay.
The project. So
Sorry, mislabeling on my end. Yes, thank you.
no, that's okay, because that's important. It does all look like cards, but I call the bigger cards like this is a project right here that I'm working on. It's the blog post project. So these key details will affect every document in here, which is important because ask me how many times I've been working on something and the key details from another card were in there and I went to another document. I'm like, why is Mr. Wickham in this scene? He's not in this scene. And he was in my key details. So it was another case of me being a bad creative director and setting my poor junior partner up to fail. So we have our key details in. We have a great prompt. We have at least 20 words. We are ready to go again. Let's see what it comes up with. There we go. And this is how I could tell that it's still writing because it stops mid-sentence and then it keeps going. But I agree, a little something to signal that. But until that way this is how you'll know that it's still thinking and
Right.
don't panic. Yeah. Okay, now
So
look at
what's
this. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what's the longest you've ever seen it pause?
If it's more than I say a minute, but I think that's like an ADHD modern person minute. Like it's not actually a full minute. If it's longer enough that I think it's been a minute, I usually refresh the page and try again. It shouldn't,
good
it
info.
shouldn't, yeah, it shouldn't be longer than I think you feel a minute is. Okay, so with its launch out of closed beta in 2021 and increased growth on the platform as of 2023, it's clear that the writing game is changing. Sudowrite was initially developed to help fiction writers create stories faster and more efficiently. It works by allowing a user to input their story idea and then using AI, it generates a rough draft. This can be seen as an electronic co-writer, a partner in idea generation and wordsmithing. However, while it was initially intended for fiction, today authors are using Sudowrite to write nonfiction as well. At a base level, it's helping writers save time by removing some of the tedious tasks like outlining or brainstorming. For example, if you were to write a blog post about Sudowrite, you would usually take the time to research other posts and stories about AI-powered software. With Sudowrite, it can save you that extra step by automatically pulling up related information. Not exactly, but sure. The possibilities for AI-assisted writing are exciting, but with great power comes great responsibility. Oh my goodness, we got Uncle, the uncle from Spider-Man in here. Many writers are concerned about how this will affect the quality of their work and their individual creativity. No matter where you stand on this issue, one thing is certain: AI-enabled software can be helpful in getting writers past mental blocks quickly, allowing them to focus their energy on what they do best, create beautiful stories. I'm going to give my junior writing partner a B+. Most of that card I could use. What do you guys think? Yep. Is it perfect? No, this is the junior writing partner on the team. So some of the words it suggests, it doesn't get used. And the good thing is the robot doesn't have an ego. So Sudowrite never gets upset if I don't use its idea or its words, which is helpful in a co-writing relationship, if you ask me. I also get a second one. And this one says, it provides a unique platform for authors to spend less time on tedious tasks, such as grammar checks or developing backstories. I'm just going down to the next paragraph. it picked up some information in those key details. And then from those key details, that also kind of gave it some framework of what I wanted to talk about. It definitely picked up that it can be used for nonfiction as well. So let's say I wanted to use this second card. I would just click this insert button and I click it and it's there. And Sudowrite makes the words purple so that you can see what came from the card. Does anyone need to see that one again? That we just, yep, okay. So I'm gonna just pretend I want to put that second card in there too. So I'm also gonna click the insert down here at the bottom and click insert. And now both of my cards are in there, and all of a sudden we have a document, ladies and gentlemen, that's 528 words. We have been at this less than 20 minutes. And all I did was give it some key details, and I gave it the beginning of a prompt. So I would have to do edits on this, obviously. I would have to change this. I would have to make sure that it's the voice that makes sure that the scope of the blog post. But if you have some details for a blog post, or hint, hint, a newsletter for your readers, for those of us who write fiction, it can be a really great tool. If you write historical fiction, maybe you have a blog post that you write about the historical facts or something like that. If you know them, Sudowrite can help you do that. Now we've shown some nonfiction. Let's do a fiction example, right? Because most we're doing fiction. All right, so I got to pick a genre. Let's see, the genre, one genre I can remember. I'm going to go with the historical thriller at the Vatican. Okay, we did just have the passing of the retired Pope, so maybe we will imagine some mystery at the funeral, at his funeral. What is he? Is he Pius IX? Is that the right one? I can't remember which his papal name is. Can you help me, Gary?
Say that again.
What was the Pope name for the one who just passed away? Was it Pius IX or
Benedict?
Benedict? Okay. Was he also the ninth though? So I get the number right at least? The Pope. Okay. So we're gonna go. Let's see. At the funeral of the Pope, a mysterious cloaked figure waited in the shadows behind the pews. I know this is terrible writing. I apologize. I wasn't planning to write about the Pope tonight. I don't even know. Do you do Ava Maria at the Pope's funeral?
I'm sure they would.
Sure, we'll do Ava Maria. Okay. During a rousing, no, we'll say what is it? A moving. There we go. A moving performance of Ava Maria by a choir not old enough to watch a rated R movie. The figure checked the cell phone that lit up in his pocket. I guess it's pocket. I don't know. Okay, we have 20 words. I just was waiting for this to turn on. So that's enough. We're just going to find out where the story goes, or do we want to give more details? Anybody want to give more details?
I'm good.
Okay, so I'm going to go right, and we're going to see what we get. Ooh, the Great Redemption Alert beeped for the 5th time. I don't even know what that is. Okay, so the text read, "What took you so long?" The wearer stood, crossed himself, and walked out. Now, see, I would not have even thought about that doing the sign of the cross before leaving. I mean, I've seen it in movies and things like that. By the way, I'm not Catholic, I'm Episcopalian. But so that, okay, that's cool. Later at a Vatican press conference, the figure revealed himself to be, John the Baptist. Now that took a turn. I was not expecting that. He announced that it was he who convinced God to, okay, yeah. So we didn't give it enough information that we were trying to write a thriller, obviously. So let's see what happens. Where would I put that if I want to tell it that I'm writing a thriller?
Details.
Key
I'd get-
details.
Details, yeah.
Yep.
I'd get some bad fan mail on that one.
A little bit. Okay. We are writing a historical thriller that starts in modern day at the funeral of a pope and jumps back to the 14th century, about a secret the Vatican wants to keep hidden. Okay, pretty good. It's vague, but I told it what genre we're writing and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to click write again. Now, interestingly enough, the words I type into the main area do not count against my Sudowrite membership. So that's another reason why Sudowrite is the junior partner and I am the senior partner. So the more I can write into that the body there, not only is that going to allow Sudowrite to work better, but it also allows me to be a good steward if I'm at the end of my month. Although we do have word packs that you can top up and everything like that. So don't ever feel like you're going to run out of words, but that is one thing, that you do not get charged for the words that you write, only for the words that are generated on the cards. Now, big question people have, does that mean that the words on the side that I don't use I get charged for? Yes, because the junior writer wrote those words, and unfortunately we do have to pay the robots a little bit. So that is any text that you do over here. So if you're not getting what you want, okay, if you're like, for example, down here, was I getting what I wanted here about John the Baptist and all of this? No.
No.
Nine times out of 10, the problem's not the AI, it's the prompter. It's me,
Right.
the human who's controlling it. So if I'm not getting what I want, I pause and I start going through the settings and starting to figure out what I'm making a mistake on. Your workbook is going to help you. You can just go to the right function. It'll start telling you, just review that, and it'll help you for what you need to do. I'm also in the Slack, and you can always drop me a question or something like that, or a DM, and I'll answer you, because writing is what I do. It's my fun time. Any questions about the key details and writing fiction right now?
No.
Okay.
No, but that's a good tip. I didn't know about the key details.
Yeah, it's somewhat new. So Mike, did you have a question?
Yeah, with the key details, I noticed, you wrote it as, as a sentence there, but can you write it as, like, say, genre : thriller?
Yeah.
Time period : the present.
Let's do
and get
it.
the same results, or?
Well, you'll always get a
Or-
different card. You'll always get a different result.
Right. Well,
You'll get a good result from it.
right. The same type of output, I guess.
Mhm. So let's do it. So genre thriller, time period, start modern day, flashback to 14th century. And what I have found that helps me is I keep a file for right now. But I have a feeling, like, as Sudowrite gets better and better with features, and they learn to think, like, as we tell them things that we need, the team is fantastic, and they will work on putting them on the schedule if getting to them and everything, because they care about us and us using using Sudowrite. But what I do is I usually have a Google Doc in another thing, and I will keep key details about each scene, which characters are in that scene, what I'm aiming to do, that kind of information. So it's easy just to copy and paste. BG, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, it's Brian.
Hi, Brian.
The creativity slider, least most, what do you expect as you're going to either side of that? And why would you use that? And are there cases in which it's more useful than other times?
So that's a good question. Creativity, it really kind of depends on what feature you're using and what you're using it for. So since I was trying to write fiction and we were like willing to just go off the rails a little bit here, I had it at the most. But let's do this, okay? Because we're scientists here. We'll do this prompt here, the flashback to mid 14th century, and then I'll do it again with my creativity slider all the way at the lowest, so that way you guys can see what the difference is. Sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
So we're going to do genre thriller, time period start, modern day, flashback. Premise: Vatican has a secret from the 14th century that might get revealed in present day. Okay, so we've got that, and we're not going to change those details. We're just going to change the the prompt, the creativity. So I'm going to click write. And by the way, that's just good science. We change one variable at a time so that we can see how things go. So yeah, it got a little bit. So the first card wasn't really sure what to do because I did kind of tell it a flashback. So it kind of did try to give me a little bit of both. So yeah, that card would be if we were doing like a time travel and like time's happening simultaneously, and my head hurts just thinking about that. The second one, I think, does better. After noticing a message, the figure left ahead of the rest of the congregation. Elsewhere in Rome, 2 Vatican detectives were assigned to investigate a series of strange artifacts found in an archaeological dig. Dun, dun, dun. It linked to a secret that had been hidden since the 14th century, involving a powerful relic and an ancient family who had long held a mysterious power over the church. So that might not be where I want my story to go, but again, whose fault is it if the AI does stuff that I didn't want? Me, because if I know what I want, I should put it in the key details. The more information, the more details you give it, the more you write in there, the better the AI is going to perform. Okay, so now we want to see no creativity, right? So we're going to just go ahead and go to write settings and we'll bump that down. And we'll click the button again. So this is what I expected to happen. So as you bring down your creativity slider, it's actually asking the AI to be a little bit more specific to your prompt. It doesn't give it permission to go as far out there from what was already in the key details and what was already prompted here. So if you are working in a manuscript, and I find this as well, I do bring down my creativity as I get further into a scene, as I get further into a book, as I am looking for more specific results from the AI. If I'm in a part of my creative process where I'm kind of open to anything, like I'm really just kind of blocked, I really just need some out the wall things for me to laugh at, if nothing else, just to get me, going again, I put the creativity slider high. So moving the creativity slider doesn't necessarily make the responses more creative. It's how creative away from your prompting can the AI be? Should it be very specific to the prompting that you already have there? Or can it be off the wall, have aliens land at the Vatican for the funeral? Okay. Does that answer your question, Brian?
That's
Yes,
a book I
thank
want to
you.
read.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah, aliens,
more aliens, the better.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is actually really good. This cryptic message had come through. It's time. The figure knew that if his plan succeeded, the secret of the 14th century would be revealed. So obviously, I probably should define what the secret of the 14th century is. But let's pretend I need help doing that. So I'm just going to insert this. And Stephanie, you have a question.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say that the words that appear on the card from the key generator do not count against your word count?
Yeah, what I put here in my key generator right here
Mm-hmm.
should not count against me, I don't believe. Amit, let me know if I'm misspeaking here. So the details here should not count against, and then also the details I put in here in that main document area should not.
Is there any way, is there anything like a that shows you your number? I see where it says words 140. Is that how you know how you're doing word count wise?
It's not. So the words 140 reflects how many words are currently in this document.
Oh.
But it'll also change based on whatever I highlight. So like if I just highlight one paragraph, see it went to highlighted words, it's 39 words.
Oh, I see. So where is your word bank? How do you know?
So now bear in mind, I have a little bit of a different situation right now because I was given some extra words since I'm teaching tonight. So it'll look a little wonky, but this is where yours will be. So you just click this little gear icon in the top right, and this is where all of your settings and your grumpy face apparently are for. I didn't realize my face was so grumpy. I'll fix that picture. But this is where it'll show where your next cycle starts and everything like that. So right now it's showing, here's where it would show me where I would be billed next. And here is also where it would show like how many words I have out of 300,000 words left. So again, I'm topped up because I'm teaching a little bit. Let's see. I have put Sudowrite through its paces really hard, but I've been testing and experimenting with a lot of features that eat a lot of words, even before ShrinkRay, which I know you don't know what ShrinkRay is. ShrinkRay is a new feature that takes a whole manuscript and it shrinks it down to an outline and blurbs and stuff. But But some of the bigger features I've been using can eat words. The most I've done in a single week is 100,000 words, but that's because I was really pushing it through its paces. I was writing a bunch of outlines. I was trying to do some crazy things. Does that help answer your question, Stephanie?
Yes, it does. Let me take my hand down.
Oh, sure. You're fine. You're fine. Okay, so we have some options here. In your workbook, the next option that we're going to play with, and I will make sure that we get some time with some of these other features that we're doing, is guided write. Oh, I wanted to do visualize real fast. Okay, so this is actually another fairly new feature that's out here. How many of you all are familiar at all with AI generated art, like Dolly or Midjourney? Okay, so this is one of the features that they brought in, and it's called the visualize feature. So let's say I wanted to visualize for some reason the cloaked figure. I could highlight this: at the funeral of the Pope, a mysterious cloaked figure waited in the shadows behind the pews. Let's say I wanted a picture of that, just to remind me of what this scene is that I'm working on. I can click the visualize button, which costs 100 words, since everything is charged in words here. So it would charge 100 words from your account, and it will create this picture. And I can insert it, and now it's at the top of my document if I want a visual aid to help me.
And are these public domain or?
The images, I do believe, because they are paid for, they should be able to be used for commercial licensing.
Okay.
But that is a good question, and let me make sure I can get an answer on that, because that is a good question. Yuri asked about pics being public domain or can be used for commercial. So, but I'm pretty sure they're just created under the license, the same license for Dolly. So, the visualize button is also very helpful for this canvas feature. If you see here, it is in beta, so they are still working on it. The canvas feature allows you to click that, and you can create a card. How many people here are plotters?
I am.
You are? Okay. Anyone else? I've also lost my chat, so I can see everybody. You can always answer me in the chat. I can only see like 5 people at the top there, so I apologize if I'm not responding to other people doing things. So if you are a plotter, you can actually create cards here, and I can go figure at Vatican funeral for a pope, gets cell phone message to steal the artifact. I don't know what the artifact is, but that's what we want. And I can click visualize, and I will get a picture, put that up there. But you also can use Canva. This is not in your workbook, by the way. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Now we have like a bishop who's got, I don't know what kind of cell phone that is, but it's interesting. You can click on the card and you can say generate more like this, and it will attempt to give you the next thing. After stealing the artifact, the figure must outrun the Vatican guards that are in pursuit. The thief is tracked down, is on the run from the Vatican police, and must return the artifact before it's too late. Or after stealing the artifact, the figure finds out it is far more powerful than expected and must race to unlock its secrets before it falls into the wrong hands. So you could pick a card and you could generate more. So this is a cool thing to play with. It is in beta, which is why I didn't include it in your workbook, because it may not stay as you see it here. They're still working on it and working out the kinks. But I'm going to go ahead and click back to project. Okay, so we are here, and the next thing that we want to work on is with guided write. Oh, I fibbed. We are going to do the first draft. I wanted to try the first draft first. Okay. So I'm going to create a new document. Okay, we're gonna leave the Vatican project.